Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Did you earn that applause?
I did. I earn it every single day of my life. Are you kidding me? Every moment. Welcome. You have joined Distill It, a 360-degree view of life and sports. My name is Wendy Rosenthal. I am your co-host along with the amazing, wonderful, fantastic, somebody's got their phone on.
Not me.
Co-host
I never have
Eira.
my phone on. Whatever it is, I know it's not me. Not tech savvy.
Eira Switzer, how are you?
Hi.
How are you?
Fabulous. I'm happy to be back in here.
I am so happy. We missed it. Man,
Yeah,
I got to tell you.
we had lots going on.
We had a lot going on, but every time we're in here, I keep telling Eira it's like medicine for me.
Totally.
Well, I come in and I feel like I've gotten a shot of B12. Isn't that what you take when you want to like boost?
You take something.
Sometimes.
I take something.
So
let's go with B12.
Thank you. We are here at the beautiful studios of UBN Go. In Burbank. We're happy to be here every other week. We want to welcome our new engineer, Shai. Welcome to the show.
Hello. How's it going?
We are so happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Welcome,
Yay,
welcome to the group. Welcome to the UBN Go Club. Yay!
I love it.
And as many of our fans know, we are here every other Thursday at 1 o'clock Pacific time talking about our favorite thing, our favorite topic, and that is sports.
Yeah.
But we like to look at sports from a different perspective, not just what's going on the field, but we like to look at sports from all points of view because we really believe that sports is a metaphor for life, and that when you look at sports, you actually get a chance to kind of peek in under the rug, behind the scenes of what's going on in life. Yeah. And every now and then, we like to do what we call freestyle. And today is going to be a freestyle day, and we have a special twist to our freestyles day. But before I get there, I always like to talk a little bit about why we're here. Eira and I are the very proud owners of a company called the Distillery Inc. We like to work with, and we do this for a living. We work with athletes to help them transition from their career in sports to beyond sports. And that's why we feel like we can sit here every couple of weeks and give you our opinion. So we appreciate you listening. We do love hearing your comments. So you can give us a call anytime at 323-524-2599 if you have anything to say, or you can always comment on our Facebook page. We do read those comments and we like to respond there. So normally when it's a freestyle day,
It's us.
It's you and me just talking. Sometimes our engineer pops in with a few comments, but it's normally us.
Right.
But we realize, and we are very, very grateful for this, we have a few super fans.
Yay, super fans.
Yay, super fans. We have a few fans that show up at every show. They comment along the way. And we thought, wouldn't it be fun to start inviting every now and then one of our super fans on a freestyle day to come in and actually get to participate in our show. So we would like to, on our inaugural Superfan Freestyle Day, welcome Miss Betsy Davis.
Yay!
Hey, I'm happy to be here.
Betsy has been watching our show since the very beginning, and you always come up with some of the best comments. We laugh and we engage, and we also, share them on air. So we couldn't think of a better thing to do than have you in studio today as we talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about.
Well, I love that. I love talking to you women, whether we're on the radio or sitting around a table.
Now, this isn't really a plug, but I'm going to say that I'm sitting here and I'm noticing that Betsy has brought some food, which is making me very happy. Betsy, I'll let you talk a little bit about what you do for your career, but kind of like, can you show me what those are?
Yeah.
So maybe we can.
Well, I'm a baker.
You can hold them up so that our audience can see. Look at that.
And because we're doing sports today,
Look at you.
we have baseball and football cookies because, we've got the ALCS going on. And,
You are a good woman.
and there's always Bama football in the fall. And I know that other teams play too.
They do.
But, I'm
the
there
only
for
one that
Bama
matters for you.
football.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Boy, Shai didn't know what the heck he was getting involved in when he
I
decided to be the
know.
engineer for our show. He's getting to come on air and
It's
to
like,
eat some of
it's
your
like
cookies.
having the national championship right here all
It
over again.
really is. It's-
Finding out that I'm here with a Clemson fan. Oh my God.
we won't hold it
Look
against
at
him.
he's got the oranges up. I love it.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
He keeps them in his pocket. Just Shai, you keep them in your pocket just for moments like this, so you can
Just
break
in
out.
case.
Definitely.
So yeah, Want some cookies?
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right. Well,
I don't want to chew in people's ear, but I'm gonna grab one when you guys are talking.
Oh, that's
Here,
good.
We'll just put them out there.
Okay, perfect.
So,
Excellent.
let's just get kicked off. I also, as I normally do before we do one of our freestyle shows, I put it out there. We put it out there in the universe of what do people want to talk about. So I have a few people who have commented back, but I think we should start with you, Betsy, because you are our guest today. What is it that you would like to talk about?
Well, as I've said, I am a Bama fan, and I think that this year's race for the Heisman is shaping up to be really interesting, given that the top three in contention are Tua and Jalen and this kid Joe Burrow from LSU.
Yeah.
And
For those of you who don't know, I'm going to make you say Tua's last name.
Tagovailoa.
Nice. She did that very well. I would have slaughtered it.
Roll Tide.
Tua, who is the quarterback
That's
for now,
for,
but the
for
controversy
Alabama,
not the
and
controversy.
Jalen Hurts, who is now with Oklahoma, having been our starting quarterback.
And having been
And,
kicked out of his position after an injury,
And handling
sidelined
it
him.
beautifully. Like, the guy has more class. They both have more class than many people do, and I wouldn't have handled it
Which
that
is
well.
lovely to see in sports. I mean,
It is.
anywhere,
It's really nice to
Yeah.
see.
Well, the fact that they're so young.
Yeah, they're
It's not
young
like they're
and
50-year-olds handling it well.
but yeah.
Yeah. And I really don't know a whole lot about Joe Burrow, but I know that he's got more completions than anybody else in contention for this great prize. And but I don't know. It's the Tua Jalen thing.
So who gets your
for me.
vote?
Tua gets my vote, but
Yeah.
I love Jalen.
Really?
Yeah. Does he?
He does.
Why?
Well,
Why two over Jalen?
well, because he was up for it last year, and I think he's a great kid.
Yeah.
I think he's a great kid. I mean, I'm not your stats girl. I'm not really your sports girl.
But I can't tell
except-
you right now, statistically speaking, they're very, very much aligned. I will say that Jalen is far outpacing Tua on his running stats. Just as an aside, just to throw it into the conversation.
He also has longer passes.
Jalen does.
Yeah.
Or Tua, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but their yardage overall is about the same. I'm
Yeah.
talking about the yardage overall in running
Right.
is like 50 to 900.
Well, but Tua's got all these great receivers.
I'm just
You know,
saying.
one of them
When they're
even
looking at stuff.
also lower in contention, but also looked at as a dark horse in Jerry Jeudy. So.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's really interesting. And the other thing that I discovered when I was looking at this is that in the course of the Heisman since 1935, in the very beginning, it was all about receivers and fullbacks, halfbacks, tailbacks. And in the last 20 years, maybe 25 years, the majority, like more than 3/4, 18, I think, quarterbacks have won. So what does that say about what's going on in football? Has it gone from brawn to brains? Or, I talked to my nephew about it, and he said he feels like it's because they're trying to play more like the NFL than college. But then why don't the winners do better when they get to the pros?
Right.
So
Lots of questions. Look, first of all, I want to.
Why don't you do better when you get to the pros? I like that.
Well,
a lot of them
they're
like
expected. Look
I
at
They don't
Kyler
do
Murray
well.
right now is
Yeah.
not doing that
I
well.
know.
Baker Mayfield, look, he did great starting out of the gate last year, but
Right.
he's struggling
Wasn't
this year.
sustainable. Yeah.
Wasn't sustainable.
Yeah.
Even those who didn't win the Heisman but were in contention, Sam Darnold, he's struggled since he came out. So I think that with anything, whenever you win something, there's a level of expectation that happens that you set a bar so high, and what people don't really understand, and I think interestingly, the only insight that I really got to this that I feel confident saying is when we were working with Terrell Owens, and he made a comment to us about his transition into the NFL after college, and he was saying, it was out there in the first practice I got to the 49ers, and he was like, Jerry Rice was kicking my butt in running, and he was 10 years older than me.
Right.
The defensive backs were, faster than me by 2 steps.
Right.
And he was at the top of his game
Yeah.
in college. So I suspect that the difference between playing in the NFL and playing in college is so dramatic. It's real.
Yeah.
It's not
Oh,
that they're not
absolutely.
doing well.
Absolutely.
It's just real.
Yeah.
yeah.
And
that
people
makes
forget
sense.
that.
Yeah.
I'd have to say, though, Deshaun Watson's doing pretty well in the NFL.
Yeah. No, he is. But he's still, like, he's one of the better ones. Thank you for, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing
But that's not the trend.
No, it isn't, for sure.
It's not the trend. No, so it's really interesting. I feel
So
like
if
the
he's
pressure-
listening, Deshaun could call and tell us why.
That's right. What's your trick?
I'll tell you. I can tell you.
He's working his butt
I'll
off.
tell you why.
He is.
He is working his
I
butt
want to
off.
hear all of your opinions about this.
Yeah.
It's not about, they all work their butts off.
Yeah.
I will tell you, I think because the Texans didn't build a franchise around him. All these other, I really believe that anytime you bring on a quarterback to be the thing,
Yeah.
you are messing with the quarterback and you're messing with your team.
Right.
I really believe that.
It's a completely psychological thing, is what you're saying.
No,
It's like-
I think it's a real thing. I think if you're, so, okay, the Patriots have Tom Brady.
right.
He is the franchise player, okay? But that happens.
You think?
No, but it happens so rarely. And when Tom Brady came into that organization, he was not
was not the
coming
star.
in as the star.
Yeah.
Right.
They were not going to build a team around him.
They did not build a team
Yeah.
around him.
He evolved into that role.
Right? So now you've got Kyler Murray going to the Cardinals, right? They're so desperate. They're building a team around him.
Yeah.
So how, not only, it's not just the pressure, but it's stupid. No, you've got to build up, what do they say? Defenses win, Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Like if your defense sucks, I don't care how many times the quarterback is going to throw a touchdown pass, your defense is going to suck and it's not going to hold the other, so
Sure.
that's my
So
theory.
we need balance.
We need balance.
We need balance. What you're
In
saying.
all
So I
things.
And
I
that is
see you
very important.
like, what do you think?
I mean, I agree with you.
But
I don't. No, I agree with you completely. I don't agree with building a team around a quarterback. And even so to say with the Patriots, yeah, even though Tom Brady is the focus nowadays, still Belichick focuses on
Everything
every
else.
other box. He's got the receivers, he's got the running backs, he's got the defense. I mean, not the best defense every year, but he's making sure that everything else on the team is up to par.
Yep.
right.
So-
Yeah. Tom Brady and the Patriots could not do what they do without
For sure.
a fully developed team.
For sure.
Yeah.
So let's go back, though, to the Heisman Trophy conversation really quickly because Leah Gillis from France is doing a route for the Patriots and the coach.
Not for the Tide? Come on.
No, but I want to go back to it because I find it very interesting that, first of all, Jalen Hurts made the decision that he made.
Right.
Right. If you go back to that, he technically he was going into being a senior. He had 1 year left. He could have probably easily been drafted into the NFL, don't you think? Last year,
I don't know. After the injury, did he have the stats for it?
he still was an elite player amongst
For sure, an
amongst-
elite player, but would he have gotten the same deal that he did?
Well, he may not have gotten the same deal, but I'm sure he would have been drafted. I
Okay.
mean, even if he came in as a backup, I mean, come on, he would have. I'm sure he would have. So he chose. He made a very conscious decision to leave because he didn't want to sit on the bench. He didn't want to be the one that came in, maybe 1 or 2 plays in a
Nobody
season.
wants to play second fiddle to somebody that you brought up.
No, for sure. But he made the choice instead of going to the NFL, which, by the way, that's a whole nother conversation that I would like to have.
Yeah.
Maybe not today, but the fact that he chose to stay in college, because
Sure.
I think that one of the biggest mistakes Sam Darnold made was to leave when he did,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
Not because I thought he was going to make that big of a difference at USC, but I just think he was too young and it wasn't the right time.
Right.
So he decided to stay, which is going against the grain. And now he's at OU, like rocking it big time.
He's a special guy.
He's a special guy.
And I think he's got the support of his family. I think his parents are really involved in what he does and the decisions that he makes. And it's great when you have great counsel.
Sure.
I mean, and I think not everybody has that.
Yeah. That's
So-
for sure. We know we
so,
know that.
So I think I have to root for him.
Well, I think it's fun. It's kind of like I have to root for Tua because he's on my team.
Yeah.
But I love Jalen.
You wouldn't
And
be
I wish-
unhappy if Jalen won.
No.
Sure.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. And as far as Joe Burrow goes, I think that whatever happens on November the 9th will tell a lot. You know.
Okay. Moving on. I have to throw something out here because you know
Okay.
it's a pet peeve of mine.
Yes.
She has many pet peeves, just so you know.
She does.
The schedule.
Which
Listen,
one are-
between
the
the three of
schedule.
us, we've got a few.
We cover them all, really.
Yeah, we do.
The schedule. Okay.
Yes. I did my research.
You did your research.
Her face.
Because she knew I would come up with this.
Yeah.
I am a little perturbed at the fact that Alabama is considered the number one team in the country when they have, for the first 5 weeks, 6 weeks, are we in now, have not played any team of.
It's been terribly challenging. Yeah.
They have the softest schedule before November this year than they've had since Saban got there.
Okay.
There's no disputing that.
Yeah.
And some of the other teams in the top 10, while they may have lost one or two here and there, are playing top 25, top 10 even teams. It pisses me off. I'm sorry. I don't think it's right that I don't think they should be number one. Not because I don't, I love you. And if they're not playing USC, I'll often root for Bama.
Yeah.
But I don't think they should be number one. I just don't think it's right.
Okay. So it's bugged me also. And I realized I really have no idea how the schedule's made, when the schedule's made,
Yeah.
who the schedule is made by.
Sure.
So I did some research because I didn't want to come in here and say, no, we're right because we're right because we're the Tide. They make these schedules up to 15 years out. There's a guy by the name of Dave Brown.
You are the first guest, just so you know, who has come in here with notes, which I love.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Well,
Continue.
you know, I want to make y'all look good.
Yeah.
I want to make me look good.
No
Because, you know,
I want to hear from
like
your
I can
family.
tell you all about how to bake those cookies, but I can't tell you everything about sports.
I want to hear from your family and friends how they think you're doing so far. So
Okay.
if you are a fan or a friend or a family of Betsy, please let us know.
Okay. Gosh, don't let me down, guys. So in August 30th of this year in
Yeah.
the New York Post, Ethan Sears wrote an article about this very thing because people are perturbed, and it's
Yeah.
not just about Alabama, it's about everybody. Like, why is the schedule the way that it is?
Sure.
And somebody asked Nick Saban in a press conference about it, and he was like, look, I'd play all five, what do they call them, 5-level teams. I'd take 10 games a year.
Yeah.
But I don't make the schedule. And he doesn't make the schedule. And this article is all about a guy named Dave Brown who was with ESPN for 26 years, and he was in charge of scheduling for, I think, 10 years of that time. And he left in 2015 because he now has his own software that he's shopping to college teams all over the place on how to schedule these teams. And
Sure.
it's called Gridiron. And you can't get on it unless you know him. I tried. I mean, not that I'm a tech wizard, but I couldn't.
Betsy was going to make the schedule for next year.
I was not going to make the
She'd
schedule. I just wanted to see what
she'd
what it
probably
should
do a
look
good
like.
job.
Totally.
I just wanted to see what it would look like,
Yeah.
but you can't get on it. So you can't even read about it unless you read the article, the coverage. So
You can't even read
Power
it.
5 teams, that's what they're called. Anyway, Nick was saying we'd play all Power 5 teams if we could,
Right.
but we can't.
Yeah.
So it turns out I can't remember all this. So they said the Florida athletic director said before Gridiron you called Dave Brown, and now Dave Brown has this
Software. Yeah.
and so he said that every conference plays at least 8 conference games with the Big 12, Big 10, and Pac-12 coming in at 9. They're usually based on consistent rotations and scheduling by the league office on a given cycle. The schools themselves don't get or need a ton of say in who their conference opponents are for a given year. It's more a question of making sure everybody has optimal bye weeks and putting certain games in prime position for TV. Then they also talk about how many home games people want.
Right.
They want almost 7. They all want 7 home games at least. So then they plug all that in.
Yeah.
And then the non-conference games, a lot of it's done the old-fashioned way. They just call up and say, hey, we'd like to do this, or they want to do a home and home. So, we'll play you, and then the next year we'll play you at your home.
Sure.
So they said that there are games planned, home and homes planned. Yeah. Texas has a home-and-home matchup scheduled with Georgia in 2028 and 29, Florida in 2030 and 31, Arizona State in 2032 and 33. UCLA hosts Wisconsin in 2029 with their return leg on 2030. Oklahoma and Clemson recently announced a home-and-home for 2035 and 2036. So far out that a senior in the second of those games will enter kindergarten this fall.
Isn't that amazing?
It's amazing. I didn't know that, but
wow.
It seems a little bit like really far away.
Yeah.
It does.
Why do it that far in advance? I'm curious as to that. But the other thing that is interesting, if it's that far out, like, you can't always tell who's going to be in the top 25 10 years from now.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it doesn't seem to make sense to me to do that, because also, like, I'm sorry, I watch the Bama games because I'm sitting with you a lot of times. No, but I wouldn't go seek to watch a Bama game because I know that they're not going to be that. So I'm talking about, like, from a television standpoint. If I were the TV networks, I'd be going, what?
Listen, this last week was the first great game we played.
Yeah. And it was
and it
was
it
still
wasn't
with
a blowout, but they still beat them by like 19 points.
Yeah, I know. But I'm just saying it, and that was the first decent game to watch.
Absolutely.
There was a little bit of a competition.
I'm right there with you.
I know.
I'm absolutely right there with you. But I was fascinated to read all this.
Yeah.
And, so
maybe I won't be as pissed off at you guys
So don't
anymore.
be pissed off at us.
There's a system in place.
There is.
There are a lot of different
Can you do
balls to
something
juggle.
about that? Can you change the system?
Let's add it to our list of to-dos.
We have a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
We've got a lot of systems to
Totally.
restructure.
We've got a lot of systems to restructure.
Exactly. I have to say this because it made me laugh. The Alabama athletic director, what did he say? It's so Alabama. The CFP's not been overly Oh, no, not that. I don't know. He said something like, everybody wants to walk down the aisle, but they don't want to get down there and not have anybody to kiss. So they're going to plan as far out as they can.
That is very true.
Yeah.
Everyone should have someone waiting at the end of the aisle.
That's right.
They should have some flexibility, though, to make alterations, because I think that would be...
Oh, I agree. But now I can stand tall again.
nice.
I'd like to
right.
thank you on behalf of our audience for enlightening us, because that is a lot of very interesting
Very
information.
good research.
15 years out.
Yeah.
Isn't that
Shocking.
wild?
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. That's amazing. That's amazing.
All right, let's move on to basketball.
Oh, if we get started on that one, I think that's it. We're ending the show on that topic.
Really?
I have a lot.
You have a lot to say?
Oh, I'm irritated.
All right, so I'm going to let you present the
No,
the
go ahead.
situation.
Present it, because it came from one of our. It came through.
It came from
fan,
it
so
came
ask
from
a question.
it came through a fan.
Yeah.
Who made the comment that they're really upset with LeBron James. It came up through the LeBron James doorway.
Yeah.
And she was like using words like, I hate him now. Like, I hate him because he is not supporting the right of the people in Hong Kong to have a democracy. And I hate him. And I was like, wow. Shai's like getting excited. You can see. So
Do you hate LeBron?
I'm a little bit. I hate him a little bit.
Okay.
All right.
So
Go ahead.
let me
Not-
set it
not
up
as
for
much.
those who
Just
may
go.
not know.
We'll gauge hate levels in a moment.
Right. So let me set it up. So about a week ago, one of the executives for the Houston Rockets, GM named Daryl Morey, tweeted his support for the protesters in Hong Kong. If you don't know what's going on in Hong Kong, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it, but basically the protesters have been protesting for quite some time because they are concerned that Chinese rule will come in and take away their freedom and their rights as residents of Hong Kong. It's been very much in the news. It's gotten very heated. Lots of police all the things that you'd expect when people are fighting for
China
democracy.
has a history of human rights abuse, so these concerns are valid.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Warranted.
Right. We've seen that
Absolutely.
over the years. So this GM, all he did was tweet like his support for the protesters fighting for their democratic rights. The government of China took great offense in that tweet and basically turned around to the NBA and said, fine, you're going to support them. We are going to cut you guys off. Now, the business that the NBA, first of all, the NBA has spent many years, more than other sports, really nurturing relationships with China. First of all, they have had famous players come to the U.S. and play on teams.
Yeah.
It has been a long-standing relationship, and the NBA is reported to earn about $4 billion a year from that relationship with China. China is now saying, we're cutting you off. And has exhibited in a few ways very quickly and so it was a swift reaction. Mm-hmm. LeBron James, for some reason, came out and basically said that Daryl Morey was misinformed and uneducated, and that he should have kept his mouth shut because he doesn't know when he puts out a tweet like that who he's hurting, the business people he's hurting. And he just kept digging. Like, he was at a press conference and he just kept doing, let me just dig one more bit of my grave in this one. He just didn't stop. Mm-hmm. So now the backlash to him is quite large. In fact,
his jerseys are being burned.
His jerseys are being burned in Hong Kong. So this raises like so many issues that I'm going to say, where would you like to start on this one?
Where do we start? I think there are so many points to address here. I think what is troubling is that part of his response was that he didn't think not only was Morey not informed and educated enough to comment on the situation, but he himself, LeBron James, doesn't know what's happening, and so he doesn't feel like he's equipped to make a comment. So why bother? That's a huge problem, if that's true, which it's not. And this is an athlete who has built his brand. He's built his empire, and he has really taken a stand. I mean, when you think about, was it 2012 and the stand that he and his fellow, teammates on the Heat took in support of Trayvon Martin, which obviously opened up the doors for huge.
Remind people who Trayvon Martin is, please.
He was the African who was shot and killed, and he really opened the door for Black Lives Matter, and we saw a whole new wave now of athlete activism.
Right.
So to be taking a stand like that then, and to now turn around and say that what's happening in China is not our problem.
Well, that's what this fan said to me.
That's what really,
it's like he has built his billion-dollar fortune, LeBron, on the back of American democracy. Now, it doesn't mean he has to go out and support Hong Kong. He could have just been quiet.
Sure, but this is but when he made his points in support of Trayvon Martin, the NBA very clearly said we support free speech. When he called out Donald Trump for behaving the way that he does, the NBA said we support free speech. And now all of a sudden, that courtesy should not be extended to the GM.
Exactly.
I know this is not necessarily related to sports, but this has actually been an ongoing thing with Hong Kong and Americans talking about it and China's reactions.
Right.
So it's also happened with two other organizations as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Another one was a gaming organization called Hearthstone that's owned by Blizzard.
Mm-hmm.
And one of their tournament prize winners during his winning speech said that he was in support of Hong Kong and he hopes and whatnot. And since Blizzard makes a lot of money off of China responded saying, hey, what's going on? And Blizzard took away his prize money.
Yeah. It was just awful.
And said that he wasn't the winner anymore. Right. And then everyone started saying, hey, Blizzard, what's going on? You're an American company. You shouldn't be taking a stance on this. Even if one of your contestants do, so to say. And then another one was China also canceled South Park.
Right.
Because they had commented on it as well. So it's been an ongoing thing with this whole Hong Kong protest and how the American government and Chinese government are handling it on both sides.
Right.
Well, and it's such a great point that you're bringing that up, because it's something that when you're going to be in business with a country that does not have the same cultural, I don't want to say ethics, because it's not that they're bad ethics. It's just how they run their government is very different to what we believe is valuable. And I understand corporations' desire to do business there. It's billions of people.
Sure.
It's not a small market. It's not like it's Trinidad, Tobago, no offense to those countries, but it's not like 12 people. Yeah. There's billions of people and lots of money to be made. But it's to me, what Blizzard did, that's immoral to me.
Yeah.
That's immoral.
Yeah.
You know?
And at the end of the day...
they gave the prize money back, by the way. But
After
they
backlash.
gave it back, and then but they said he wasn't the winner. But they gave it, yeah. And they made a statement that they don't align themselves with what he had said, and that the platform is only supposed to be used for talking about gaming. But if you're going to be activists or anything like that, whenever you have a chance to talk about what's important to you, you use that resource.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean,
It's
that's
the same way
reason
LeBron did. Yeah. So
Well, again, and I think it's really important to note that, as you're saying, Adam Silver, who's the commissioner of the NBA, has set a policy of being very supportive of its players to speak their minds.
Yeah.
They're not trying and so for him, and he's come under criticism, but not as much, obviously, because he's walking this fine line.
Right.
He's a businessman.
Yeah.
It's billions of dollars.
And there are repercussions, which are very valid. I mean, to simply acknowledge that, Maury's tweet cost someone money is a valid point.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But then to say that he didn't have the right to take a stand and to use whatever platform he did have.
Or to
make a
put it
statement.
on his own
You know,
personal
on his own
Twitter.
personal Twitter,
He wasn't
right.
standing there as a spokesperson of
Right.
the NBA.
Yeah.
He was standing there saying, "It's my personal account.
Yeah.
This is how I feel."
Absolutely.
And we've talked about this before. It's a very hard thing, even today, as if you're an employee of a company that nobody knows about, they still have policies about social
Yeah.
media and what you can and can't say, or what you shouldn't say on your own personal
Sure.
accounts. But still, the fact is that, the fact that Maury had to take his tweet down was even, I find it scary that a government like China is dictating what our people are saying and
Yeah.
making it about
It's like
money.
it's like your free speech rights end where my bank account begins.
Exactly.
And that's what's so challenging with LeBron James. I think that this was such a missed opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
It was such a missed opportunity for him.
Absolutely.
And when you think about this guy who's really, social activism has become a cause. He's built his brand, because of what he does to support the changes that need to be made, And I think, and that's, I pulled up some of his tweets, and he's often, referenced Dr. King. And I looked up when he quoted he quoted Dr. King's letter from the Birmingham jail that he wrote in 1963 in response to, he had been jailed for taking a stand, obviously, and he had been called into question by a variety of clergy, Christian and Jewish clergy, who said that he was an outsider engaged in unwise and untimely demonstrations. To which Dr. King responded, "I am cognizant of the interrelatedness of all communities and states. I cannot sit idly by in Atlanta and not be concerned about what happens in Birmingham. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." And that's what LeBron James's focus was. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
Yeah, and now he's sitting there calling.
And now he's saying it's just not my problem, and what's happening there is not our problem. We're in the U.S. and there are a variety of problems here in the U.S. that I'm trying to address, and nobody else seems to be caring as much about. So why are we concerned about China? What happens there is not
So
our
who's
problem.
in his
That is
head
not.
now?
That's not true. He's in his head.
No, but who's in his head now?
He's worried about his pocketbook because he's quoting. You can't choose when you're going to quote Dr. King and
Right.
which of his points you're going to choose to live out and support or not. Because one other thing that very famously was said by Dr. King is freedom has always been an expensive thing.
Yeah.
It has always been an expensive thing. History is fit testimony
Yep.
to the fact that freedom is rarely gained without sacrifice and self-denial. So now all of a sudden, LeBron James's pocketbook is threatened. And, the same goes for a variety of other people. But isn't that just part of the point here?
That's part of being a grown-up.
It's part of being a
Like,
grown-up,
you
but
make your
change
you
costs
make your
something.
choices.
And change costs something.
If you're going to stand up for something, then you have to know
Right.
that it's not just this one moment. It carries through
Sure.
to everything.
Sure.
So
And there's a price.
Do you think, and this is going to be me, the conspiracy theorist here, do you think the NBA behind the scenes back channel asked LeBron to make some kind of statement so that it would come, so that there was a way to get a message out? Because, he is kind of a big face of the NBA. He is a beloved player across the world.
Put him in a situation
This
to
is so
make
not
this
like
statement.
you.
I know it's not, but it's like,
to make this statement in particular.
Maybe.
that they asked him to say this?
Well, maybe not this, but maybe asked him to speak up, because he could. This was the conversation I was having with this person yesterday. I was like, he could have just stayed quiet. Like, he didn't have to say anything. If
Yeah.
somebody in a press conference asked him, he could have said, I have no opinion. I don't want to make a statement.
Yeah.
He's been so careful in his career. He's so highly managed. His communications, I'm sure he has people who are writing those tweets for him. I mean, with his sentiment, but you know what I'm saying? He's a very curated guy.
Yeah.
And it just seems so
Out of character.
out of character. You know, and again, I have
That's
no
why I
proof.
asked
I'm
the
just
question.
asking the question.
That's why I asked the question, who's in his head now?
Yeah.
So
Based on everything we've been saying, like with him being focused on American matters, do we see him too much talking about international matters? And this is the one time that he is.
Yeah.
So you probably are right. Someone did probably text him and say, "Hey, LeBron."
Or say, look, I can't, you know, maybe again, I know nothing, so I'm just saying, like, maybe Adam Silver said, I can't come out and say these things because I've got to walk this fine line. I have to make sure that, you know, our players have the right to speak out. That's a platform. Maybe, you know, or maybe he felt on his own that he needed to. I'm just saying it's so illogical to me.
Whatever the reason, what he had to say was just unreasonable.
Yeah.
Totally.
Whether it comes from him or someone else, it
wasn't,
it's just not right.
It's just not right.
Yeah.
We're going to start a new feature, called "It's Just Not Right," and this would be
that.
top of the list right
absolutely.
now.
Yes.
It's just not right.
Yes.
So in the way that we always like to talk about, you know, solutions, is there a way back? I mean, obviously LeBron is fine. He's got his money. He's still got his reputation. He's going to play. There's going to be people who love him. There are going to be people who don't love him. The NBA is walking this fine line. Like, is there more to do? Is there nothing more to do? Is this something we should all be worried about? Because frankly, I am worried about a government coming in and saying, okay, you know, we don't like what you said, so we're going to stop, which they have the right to do. But, you know, we're also in a trade war with them.
And it's not unique to sports. It's not unique to the NBA. This is happening. You know, why is this the one time that it's gotten people all riled up? This is what the Chinese government does.
Yeah. No, it's interesting, but coming through sports, that's an interesting point.
Right.
Because it's coming through the channel of sports where so many people are more connected.
Well, as sports is a metaphor for life.
True.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to see this happening with this government at this time.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody wants to get political, but it's just a very interesting time that we're living in.
Sure.
And this is the kind of thing that happens now.
Does sports have a higher standard because of the fact that so much does come through the guise of sports? Like, is it? I mean, this is going to lead to my next, topic. But you've got the commissioners of all the leagues, and you have owners and GMs and all that, and knowing that sports is a way that people communicate more openly and freely, I really do believe it. I believe that that's why men can go to, a football game and cry when their team loses or wins, because it's easier for them to emote through the medium of sports.
Yeah.
Does that put more of the onus on the people in and around the business of sports to really, to guide, to be an example, to set a higher example? Might be too big of a question, but it's interesting because, the thing that we were also going to want, I also wanted to talk about, and we all agree that it was important, was what happened in the England-Bulgaria Euro 2020 qualifier game.
Why is this the game that shocked the world? This happens every day in sports to black athletes all around the world all the time.
And it's not
how is it
just
that this
athletes.
was
for
this was the
context?
game?
The Euro Cup is next year. There's qualifying matches all going on all over Europe. England played Bulgaria the other night. And there was a large sector of fans that were offering up racial slurs to a couple of the England players who happened to be black, and who
racist chants, Nazi salutes, just everything,
making horrible monkey noises as they came by. the play was suspended a couple of times to kind of get people to calm down. England had the opportunity to stop play, which they chose not to. They chose to use the game as a way to, show the world that they were not going to be destroyed by what was going on. And in fact, that they went on to win 6-0. In the aftermath of this, and it got huge press overseas, the head of the Bulgarian Football Association resigned almost immediately. He was called for by his by the president of the country, I guess. I don't know if he's a president or a prime minister or whatever, called for his resignation. And now what?
Right.
Now what?
Where's
How
change?
does that affect anything?
Yeah. How is change to come? You know? And again, why was this the game
I don't know.
that rubbed everyone the wrong way? This goes on every day.
All the time.
All the time.
At every level.
Yeah.
I think maybe it was a game that, I don't know, for some reason was highlighted because it was, again, a qualifier. A lot more people are watching. I think a lot of attention got called to it because of the decision that England made to continue to play and to show the world that they were not going to be, dissuaded, stopped because of what was happening.
Yeah.
That there was a bigger purpose in what they were doing. Maybe that's why it got a lot of play. It has happened, by the way. It has happened before in Bulgaria.
Yeah.
This was not the first time that they had been or will be sanctioned.
Sure.
So I don't know. Maybe that's it. More people saw it.
Yeah.
Because of the level of, because it was a qualifier and more people were watching.
Look, I mean, if his resignation, for whatever reason, the attention that was drawn to this game makes things a little bit better, a little bit different, I'm thrilled. I'm waiting to hear what the changes that they are going to implement. What are they hoping for?
Who are they going to fill that job by?
Exactly.
Is it going to be somebody who brings all sorts of peace, unity, and equality to the game?
And that trickles down to all the fans, and that trickles down,
Yeah, but what responsibility?
What's happening?
What responsibility, say, does the arena have? The minute those fans were acting, I mean, I'm sorry, they were, they were doing Nazis hand signals.
Yeah.
Like, what point?
I mean, several were arrested, but at that point, you do what has happened in the past, in other games in other countries. You stop play, you clear the stadium, and the teams play without fans.
Yeah, that to
in the
me is
stadium.
a great.
You do something. You
Why
get
wouldn't they
them
have done
out.
that then?
I don't know.
So interesting.
They
'Cause
certainly stopped the
didn't.
game enough.
They did,
You know?
more than once.
And that has happened before. They have stopped and they have cleared stadiums. And the teams, unfortunately, have to play without an audience. But you know what? Better that than what they're exposed to.
But
I want to go back to your question,
Yeah.
back to Alette to this, because it's so, your question was, is there now pressure for people to stand up and do more and be those role models and the band change? What is?
Yeah, but I mean, not even the athletes themselves, but in a way, was it right of Daryl Morey, even though he was doing it on a personal level, to come out and say, "This is where I stand," with the support of his team, or "This is where this team stands." If sports is such a movement, and it clearly is, and people clearly express themselves through sports or allow themselves to be swayed by what happens. The conversation inevitably yesterday led back to Colin Kaepernick and how he stood up. And right or wrong, whether you agree, and it's funny because the person I was talking to was saying, look, I didn't agree with how he did it, but I agreed that he did.
Right, and I think that's really what should be focused on, is that not everyone is going to be an activist at all, or in an extremely overt, loud way. But if people choose to take a position and to use their platform, whatever platform that may be, whether you're the player, whether you're the GM, whether you're whatever it is, you should be able to, so long as you aren't inciting violence, so long as you aren't doing it in a mean-spirited way. So if you're simply stating your show of support,
right,
you should be allowed the opportunity to do so. It doesn't mean everyone has to do so, but if you feel called to something, I think you should be allowed the opportunity to do.
Absolutely.
But I think it's interesting when you talk about Colin Kaepernick, and this was what, 2 years ago?
No, longer now.
3 years ago? To see how people's perception of this action has changed.
Totally.
Certainly, great friends of mine thought about it in one way then, and they think about it in a different way now.
Sure.
Because of his action.
Yeah.
And at the time, I remember Kareem Abdul-Jabbar writing that beautiful piece about how essential it is to use that platform.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
And people do think that there was a huge difference because obviously Colin was a player. So if he wants to choose to take a stand that might jeopardize his career, his future earnings,
Which it did,
then that's on him. And so they're saying contrast that to what Maury did. Maury's not a player. This franchise is built on the players, the ones whose blood, sweat, and tears bring in the billions from the players, which we get. Again, this is so. I would have been more impressed if LeBron James was not the one who chose to spoke out. If it had been the guy who's maybe not making those billions,
Right.
who could come out and say, you know what, it's hard for me to go to China and leave my family behind that I'm supporting with whatever my smaller salary in the NBA is. And here is how I was affected, you know?
Right.
And this is what it did to me and my family. But even so,
But the reality is
I gotta
nothing
tell you.
happened.
I got to tell you, well, I mean, people say they lost appearances, they lost endorsement deal, whatever the repercussions are.
Right.
What I'm saying is LeBron James is hardly, the billionaire LeBron James is hardly the one to be,
Right.
making a stand about what he lost.
But by the way, if indeed you are a mid-level player who lost some endorsement, right?
Yeah.
Blaming Daryl Morey, like that's where I get totally like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Blame China. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
why the hell are you blaming? This guy stated an opinion.
Yeah.
The whole of the NBA does not have to be held to his opinion.
Yeah.
So why are people not outraged? That's what I'm not getting.
Yeah.
Why? Where are the people saying, screw what he said?
Yeah.
Why is China and if China's doing that, fine, I'm going to stop buying Chinese products.
Right.
Which means I can't go to the 99-cent store
Like,
anymore.
good
But,
luck.
But do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
I don't get the outrage against the guy who made a personal statement.
Yeah.
I'm outraged that China is really
Doing what they're doing.
Doing what they're doing.
Yeah. And getting away with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
but in this climate, they're going to get away with it because the bottom line is what is, and that's what makes the rules right now.
Well, I think, Betsy, I agree with you, but I think money always makes the rules.
I think it's more extreme now.
I don't know. I honestly, like, going back to Colin Kaepernick, money made the rules then, and he has suffered, but he chose that path. And yet, did he sue the NFL? Absolutely, because he had the right to dispute that path.
Right.
But that's why, at the end of the day, I've always been very clear. I don't think the way he chose to protest actually helped get across the message that he was trying to get across. I think I admire him for sticking to his guns and for taking the hit personally, financially, right? So I think, unfortunately,
And we're not
It's
saying
always gonna
everyone
be
has
about
to
money.
do that. We're not
No,
saying everyone
absolutely.
has to do that and go that route.
right.
Again, Maury's tweet was very simple and very fair,
Very fair.
hardly controversial, you know?
It was a personal opinion.
And that's what people need to realize. Like anything that threatens China in any tiny way becomes a huge issue.
Exactly.
That's the problem, people. That's the
Right.
focus.
Exactly.
You know?
I'm so upset, and you were absolutely right.
That's what we ended on. Told you.
We were going to end
And we may
on
have
that.
more next show.
So don't, just you wait. Just you wait. We have run out of time.
I can't believe it.
Can you believe it?
I cannot
We have
believe
run
it.
out of
We'll have
time. Yes.
I would love it. I'll bring more research
And more cookies.
and more cookies.
I gotta say real quick
Yes.
though, talking about the WNBA. Congrats to the Mystics,
Yes.
DC.
Yay. Oh,
Yeah.
look at you.
See?
You got a lot
Congrats
going
to the
on in
Mystics.
DC this
Yeah.
year.
Let's go Nats.
Yeah.
You got it.
I had to do my plug real
That-
quick.
That's an
I'm
important
so glad
thing.
that
That's
you
what we
did,
want.
although I can't root for the Nationals. I'm sorry. They beat my Dodgers. I
all good.
beat my Dodgers.
But what about the Astros? Can you root for them?
Well, I can just because I have a Texas connection. Who else am I going to root for? I'm not going to root for the
Exactly. You know what
Yankees.
the
Are you
Yankees-
kidding me?
You know what the T-shirt says? I'd hate
What?
the Yankees even if there was no baseball.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
On that note, we want to thank all of you who joined us, and for those who commented, whether it was today or on previous posts, to give us the ideas that we talked about today. We are here every other Thursday. We're going to be here. Ooh,
We're going
it's
to be here on
Halloween.
Halloween, October
Oh, we got to dress up. We
31st.
got to dress up.
You all got to tune in. We're going to have Cedric Alexander of Set Fit LA, former boxer, currently training boxers and the everyday warriors like us,
Right.
coming in studio.
We're going to
Join
talk
us
because
that
we
day.
want to talk about boxing. Honestly, that's a topic we've really not done.
Yeah.
And I want to understand it more.
Yeah.
I want to understand it. So we're very excited. You can find us at thedistilleryinc.com. You can find us on Facebook at The Distillery Inc., on Instagram at Distill It 360. You can find us on YouTube. Please subscribe, share. If you like anything that we're talking about, let your friends know, and we look forward to seeing you again in 2 weeks. Thank
Yay.
you, Beth.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for
Glad
having me.
glad to
Fun.
have you. And thanks, Shai.
Yeah,
Welcome.
no problem.